Good morning. Today is the 13th of January 2025 and I'm going to go through today's checklist and trade watches and just go through the levels. And before we start, just checking we've got sound. Yeah, okay, before we start, let's look to see what news could be moving the market today. And we've not had anything in the pre-market at all, and we've got nothing really. 2 o'clock, potentially monthly budget statements are 2 out of 3 on the volatility index, so nothing much really until tomorrow morning. We've got some PPIs, so today should be quite a straightforward day, no major news to drop. Okay, on my screen we're looking at the 1 hour time frame for the S&P 500. This is the E mini futures. Let's just go to the daily and see where we are, which paints a pretty decent picture. You can see we've been in this downtrend for some time now. We're holding that level and we've broken down through this 58.80 area we've been watching for a bit. It's a big area of confluence as well, and so probably one of my watches for this week is a pullback into that region, 58.80, that area there. I'm watching for a pullback for potentially a swing trade short. I'll look on NASDAQ in a second. Otherwise we're coming into a area where we could see a potential bounce, big area of confluence where we've got tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots. We've got volume just below as well, so we do have this point of control area around here, and by no coincidence it happens to be right on this trend line as well, and we've got the 200 moving average coming up into that area. So now we could expect to see a bit of a bounce in that area, so 57.80, 57.60 area. Looking at volume over the last few weeks, we can see we've had increased volume as the price has been pushing up into these highs, and then we've had a big decrease in volume as we're selling off. But notice the red days are generally bigger than the green days. Let's get this out, that's better. So we've got, if you look at the size of the candle, we had a big sell-off day there, big indecision, and we had a smaller green day and an even smaller green day on the volume. And we talked about this a few weeks ago. Decrease in volume, increase in price usually shows that there's a weakness in the market, and then we sold off, we pulled back and retested. So what we're looking at right now, potentially we're looking at this head and shoulders pattern, not the best formed one. That's the left shoulder, the head. We've got this right shoulder pattern here. I've merged those two pivots together, and we've got the neckline. So that's why I'm quite keen at the 92, 5900 area for the break and retest short for a bit of a swing. So that's the daily. So let's move into the weekly. And obviously, just to note also, we had big volume on the last red day. Ignore, I'm not sure we had such small volume. Oh, that's the market was closed that day for the President Carter's funeral, so ignoring that day. And we had a small indecision candle with quite a bit of volume, even though it's a green volume candle. We've got big bottom tail and top and tail, so it's indecision, but at some point that was all red, that candle. Okay, let's go into the hourly and find some levels for today. So that neckline we talked about, which is 5900, 5800, this area here. So I'm watching that area there for potential rejection. I want to see it come back up into this region, and then as it comes out of, probably as it comes below 58.80, that area, I'll be looking for a short, maybe a pullback into that area, something like that. So that's my first watch for today. It's the 5800 break and retest, and again we can convert that into a swing trade if we get back up there. Pre-market high, we can keep an eye on this area here. Oh, I want to go back to rectangle. Let's keep an eye on this 58.40 for a break and retest long. Potentially we can watch it also, the lows of Friday. We can also watch out for rejection as well. So that's got two levels we can watch here. A break and retest long, or if we can't get through and we hold it, then a rejection. And then pre-market low, the same here. I quite like it for a break and retest short to continue this trend down. Bearing in mind we've got that trend line below, and we have a little bit of confluence. You can see tops of candles here, bottoms of candles, and we're coming into that area as well. So it's an area to watch. We have broken through the main volume of this area, not quite the point of control, that's above, and you can see why that's above. It's been holding that level for such a long time, 59, 60 area, and then we finally break through. You know, we talked about how many times can you knock on the door before we finally get through. So the next area we're watching is this volume area. This volume area here, which is where we are right now, so be a little bit wary. It's a little bit above as well, so the main bulk of that volume is above where we are, so it looks like we may have broken through. So we could keep an eye on that pre-market high area for rejection, and then our next volume shelf is here, and we've yet to come back down to retest there. It's a zone as well. We could technically say it's still part of the same area we've been watching, but let's just zoom out and see if there's any more areas of confluence in that area before we commit to it. Okay, look at that, that kind of gives it away. The point of control was moved, so this is the area I like for a bounce if we get down there. So just watch 57, 60 for a bounce, and it's tops of pivots. It's this zone here, we watch this entire zone, bottoms of these pivots. So we're coming into it, so I'm going to keep an eye on it coming into this trend line, point of control, and as it bounces I'm looking for some sort of confirmation, like a double bottom or a higher low, something like that as we're coming back out. And that's it, I'm going to keep it really simple. My prime watch today is this area here, the retest of this area of confluence, tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots there, and I'm looking for it to potentially come back and retest this big head and shoulders pattern we're looking at. Moving on to SPY. Good morning, Charles. Hope you're well. Hope you had a nice weekend. Thank you for your comment. I appreciate you tuning in every day. Even though I do this mainly for myself as a accountability, because if I put my levels and what I'm thinking about on the market out there in public, then I got to hold myself accountable for it. But I do appreciate you watching, and hopefully these levels help you as well, not just me. But as you can see, they're pretty much spot on most days. SPY is the same. We've got this bounce area where we are right now. I'm not sure where my volume profile's gone, but we don't really need the volume profile. That's just an indicator. It kind of shows you. We already know where the volume is because that's where all the pivots are and where the confluence is. This is the neckline area, 585. We've been keeping an eye on that. Well, this entire area is the neckline area. So what I'm looking for on SPY, I'll probably use it more for confirmation, is a pull back into this region. So 580 can be a rejection point. Notice it's the same levels we've been watching for quite some time. And then we got the bounce area down here. So we've got tops of these pivots, bottoms of these pivots, bottoms of these pivots. It's a zone I'm watching for, not just a line. So we can watch this area here, 568 to 564 area for a potential bounce. And then obviously break and retest of pre-market low. I do quite like that today, and we've talked about that area. I do quite like the rejection of pre-market high as well. That area is a pivot, not quite as clear cut as ES, but we've got this 580 rejection area. So that serves two purposes: break and retest long, or the rejection down. SPX, I only like using this as a confirmation, and for example I won't go long on ES if, as you can see here, SPX is below this resistance area, or now it's now support, it's now become resistance. So broke down, come back in. I do not want to go long if SPX is below, but we'll see where we are when the market opens. because we'll be going long on ES into SPX overhead resistance. So we sold off a bit in the pre-market, so I expect to be a little bit below, a little bit down, but see where we are. Levels to watch. I will clean this up at some point. You know what, there's no time like the present. Done. Let's have a nice fresh start. So let's keep an eye on this region here. This is the retest neckline area. In fact, probably better here. More areas of confidence. That's our neckline. Looking for the next area of confidence around this area. So look, we've got tops of pivots, not quite there, it's a zone. But we've got bottoms of pivots, and then big reaction. Let's just mark off this area as well. So these are the major areas, and then we've got some minor areas as well we can keep an eye on. Like this is a minor area here. Notice we're watching tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots, tops of pivots, yet to come down. So we can watch this as an area of support today. So if we're looking for a long on ES and we're above this area, then that will be a good confirmation. If we are below this area and trying to go long, then potentially it might be a little bit harder. Again, I don't have my volume profile tool here on the right. I'm not quite sure what's happened to it. Is it just doesn't like the long when I zoom in? Is it better? No, it's strange. It's just vanished. Let's save and refresh. If anybody uses volume profile on TradingView and they see it vanish and they know how to fix it, I've noticed it quite a lot over the last few weeks. Still not there. And I can add it back in again. Oh, hang on, what's that? Runtime error. Let's get rid of that, let's add it back in. Is that the one? I think it is. Sorry about this. Visible range volume profile, that's the one. It's a free one by TradingView, so I do recommend it. Okay, so it's back again. Oh, these are new icons, not sure what they mean. Like new version or something. Anyway, so the volume profile's back now. Let's just see how we get on. Let's save that. Okay, so that's it. That's the main areas. Let's go to NQ. In fact, that area we just put in here is kind of backed up with this point of control as well area. So I think this is a good region to watch for a potential bounce today. NQ. We can get rid of these now. I must have just do some housekeeping while I'm here, because you can see we've severely broken that. Got a new trend line. So what we could do, something I do like to do, is put in trend lines when we got the first few pivots. Something like that. And then again, I like to, if you hold down the control button on TradingView and then drag, you can then put in, it gives you, you can clone it, you can just see where we are, whether there's anything on. So what I'm looking at is the most touches, a bit like areas of support and resistance or supply and demand. We've got a touch, we've got a touch, touch, and a few touches up here as well. So it's just a guideline, and it just gets you, it helps me just visualize the downtrend and potentially where we could be bouncing next time. So you could argue and say that that is a bounce point down here, where we're there at the moment. But I'll keep that in place. Okay, so levels for NQ. It's not quite as clear cut as ES. Don't need all these in here. Now looking at the hourly, aren't we? Okay, so we've got this area here for the retest, 21. It's pretty much 21,000. Let's mark that up as 21,000. massive big psychological number for this region, so obviously 20,000 is the area we can watch for the bounce. It happens to be bottoms of those two pivots there, so if we come back up and retest 21,000, let's look for a rejection. We've got the point of control, happens to be in this area confluence, tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots. This region here, 20,400 for the bounce. Let's just reset this. What I like to do on my volume profile as well, so I like the value area to be 30%, so it just shows you the area we're interested in, and then the row size is at 20. Is that the way I do it, or is it the other way? No, wrong way around. 80 must be about right, so say 150. That's better. So it gives you a little bit of fine tuning. So I like seeing the 30% part of the value area. And then, so this is an area we can watch potentially where the bounce is going to be. And you can see we've already come into that area once, just there. This pre-market low today, bounced right on the edge of that value area. I'm not sure if that's a coincidence, but we've got this zone we can watch for potential bounce. And then rejection. I do quite like this rejection area here, 21,500. It's a round number, 21,500. So let's watch, and it could be also the top of that trend line as well. So let's watch that area for the rejection. And then we've got the break and retest of both pre-market high, pre-market low is my preferred one because we're in a downtrend. That's a high probability. And then if we hold this level, 21,000, and we can't quite get through pre-market low or yesterday's low, Friday's low, let's look for rejection in that area. QQQ. Zoom in. QQQ, again, I like this region here, 505, 506 area for the rejection. Point of control goes right through this area confluence, tops of those pivots, a break and retest there, a retest of that area. We broke down and instantly responded to that, held it, and then you can see we were holding it, getting tighter, and then we broke it. And so I'm looking for is a break and retest of this area, 513 as well, but also 505, 506 area. That's my Premarket, and obviously I like the break and retest of pre-market low today, that region there, to continue this trend down. And then bounces, the only place I can see is probably this region. This is the main area because this is where you can see where the volume is. This region here, that's not obviously my bounce area, it's a bit too wide, but probably watch this pivot here. So I want to see it come in, come back out of that zone, maybe retest it and find some sort of entry. Next up is crude oil, which has been ripping. Look at that, it's doing pretty well. Okay, so just keep an eye on trend continuation, break and retest of 78.58 pre-market high. If we lose both pre-market low and yesterday's high, we can look for a potential break and retest. And then what do we have then? We have this head and shoulders pattern. Come in, left shoulder, head, you've just seen that fade away, right shoulder, the break and retest. And then we can look for some sort of bounce back down in this region. Notice the massive volume spike as well, and massive overbought on the RSI as well, so potentially showing that we could have found a top, or even if it's a temporary top for now. And we've just been going sideways for a bit, putting in that pattern there. So let's watch 75. This is the region for the bounce. Pre-market low, break and retest, and then that's it really, and continuation of pre-market high. Gold, Notice how oil's the only green trading in this index today, futures. And here's a reason why I like to keep the trend lines in place. Look at that. So we've been holding this level here, holding. Was that on Friday? We broke through Friday. We talked about this. I said watch for a potential rejection of this trend line or a break and retest long. And here we go. We came in, had a test, came back out, came back in and retested that trend line. You know, this is just eyeball trend line, but it's retested it and sold off. So let's keep an eye on. Do you know what? I was going to say break and retest a pre-market low. We can still keep an eye on that because the main volume doesn't come in until we get further down. This region here, right down through the middle, this is where the point of control is. Also happens to be where the bottom of this trend line is as well. But it is an area of confluence, big amount of volume below. So we could watch for a bounce at pre-market low. Bounce there, maybe to try and retest the trend line again. And then as for rejections, I quite like the break and retest of pre-market high had we been above that trend line. I would probably wait for it to break out, come back and retest. You know, it has tried to break out, so it's knock. You know, we talked about this earlier. How many times you knock on the door? That's the first knock. Well, you go first knock, second knock, third knock. It almost got through. Let's see what happens the third time. And the same down here as well. If we come back down into this region, are we going to hold it and bounce, or are we going to lose it? So let's keep an eye on a bounce down in this region, 2660. RTY. It's a clear break and retest level here, so that's probably the only place I like. So Friday's high for a rejection, pre-market low, continuation. If you want to go against the trend, break and retest along yesterday's high, Friday's low, today's pre-market high into that region there. You can look at that area for a rejection. That's why I quite like this. Big area of confluence. We've got tops of pivots, bottoms, all these bottoms here, definitely holding it. Also we've got the point of control, it's broken through it. So it's going to be hard to try and get through this area because we've got so much above. So let's watch for a rejection. YM. So this is the Dow Jones. Again, we've got a clear break and retest over big area of confluence. Bottoms of pivots, bottoms of pivots. We've broken through, we've yet to retest Friday's low, so let's keep an eye on 42,500. Psychological number as well. So big reason to watch that area. And as you probably can see, we've got the point of control, all this additional volume above as well. So this could be a potential area, will be hard to get through. I'm going to put an alert in, I think. A couple of alerts. Just to remind me, I'll put it on that one. I'll come back to the Russell in a minute. And then finally, Bitcoin, has it broken down through 92? It has. Look at that. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Big area of confluence. We've been holding, we've been holding, we've been holding. Do you remember we talked about this head and shoulders pattern? This is the right shoulder here, potentially. The head. And then the... Sorry, I meant the left shoulder and then the right shoulder. And now we finally broke down. This is the neckline. 92,000, big key level we watch for. We finally lost it. And so let's go to the daily. You can make it a bit easier to see. And you can see why I've been taking profits out for this exact reason. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Waiting for the break and retest now, so keep an eye on 92,000 for a rejection if we come back up into that area. We really do need a close below this on the daily before we can come back and retest it. Otherwise it's invalid, this pattern, if we do break that pivot at 102,500. Okay, so the next bounce area for me, this is where I'm going to be starting adding back into the profits I've been taking out up here. is if we get back down into this region, you can see on the left hand side the point of control. Quite a lot of volume in this area, so I'm watching 60. Well, I said I'm watching 70,000, so it's basically 70,000 area I'm looking for it to actually start adding to the position again. And I may start adding as we're coming back down into that area. And you can see here, I sold the rip, big amount of volume, that's why I got out. And then as volume started declining, I started adding to my position again on all the pullbacks. I added here because I suckered myself into thinking it's going to be breaking out. I was just a few months too early on that. Added again. I did take a little bit out there, only because I wanted to take out what I added there. So I added back in later, and then I finally added on the break and retest, and then I took some profits on the way up. I think that's a decent way to play it. Okay, so that's it. Order flow on ES, let's have a quick look. What do we see? We are seeing strong cumulative delta buying. It's still in the negative, so hasn't quite got over the 0 mark, which is probably up here. So it's still, even though it's positive delta, we've still got negative cumulative delta overall for the day. But there's a bit of a divergence. You can see this increase in cumulative delta. We weren't increasing there. We weren't didn't put in a new high when we were putting in new highs here. And then we're selling off, and then the cumulative delta is increasing in price, or at least going sideways. And now let's just see what the market gives us. I'm not going to trade for the first 15 minutes. I want to see what that 15-minute range is going to be, and then hopefully find a decent trade. Okay, appreciate everybody watching. I will be back tomorrow on the live stream, but on the I'll be back tomorrow on the levels, but right now on the other stream is the live, what you're looking at right now, the order flow. Okay, thank you. Don't forget to hit the like button, good for the Google algos, and I will be back tomorrow. Thank you for watching.